Why Juan Carlos warned Princess Leonor. The light falls low across a study lined with memory. Leather-bound volumes, framed decrees, photographs that no longer circulate. An older man stands still, longer than necessary, before speaking. Time has taught him that haste is expensive. It is not delivered loudly. Warnings of this kind never are. Because the man is Juan Carlos I, and the person listening carries a future that no apology can repair. She is Princess Leonor. This is not a conversation about affection. It is a transfer of consequence. Juan Carlos does not speak as a symbol of triumph. He speaks as a survivor of legitimacy, and a witness to how quickly it can unravel. Spain remembers him as the king who steadied the country at a moment when democracy itself was still learning to breathe. But institutions remember longer than publics do. They catalogue successes and failures with equal precision. And that is the context of the warning. At first, it sounds almost restrained, measured, advisory, but beneath the surface lies something sharper. The crown does not fall in a single dramatic act. It erodes, quiet compromises, small allowances, moments dismissed as harmless. This is the living thread of continuity. By minute 2, the assumption most people carry begins to fracture. They imagine the warning was about reputation, about caution, about behaving well under scrutiny. It was not. Juan Carlos understood that monarchies are not judged by morality alone. They are judged by predictability. A constitutional monarchy survives by being boring in the right ways and immovable in the critical ones. The moment it becomes explainable, it becomes vulnerable. This is what he warns her about. He has seen how private behavior becomes public currency. How whispers harden into narratives. How explanations arrive too late to matter. The warning is not emotional. It is archival. At minute 5, the phrase returns, heavier now, stripped of ceremony. Because it is not advice she can choose to ignore. It is instruction embedded in experience. From Washington, this exchange is interpreted as institutional hygiene. An elder statesman reminding the next generation that symbols must be defended more carefully than policies. In London, it resonates differently. There, the warning is familiar. A former monarch cautioning an heir that survival depends less on popularity than on restraint. Canada and Australia read it through constitutional distance. For them, stability is the metric. A monarchy that trains its future carefully is one less likely to export uncertainty. Germany watches with a colder lens. History has taught it what happens when legitimacy dissolves faster than institutions can adapt. Here, the warning signals seriousness. But inside Spain, the silence around the warning matters more than the content itself. Nothing is quoted directly, nothing is denied, nothing is dramatized, because to dramatize would be to personalize. And this was never personal. By minute 8, a deeper absence becomes noticeable. No one asks what Juan Carlos regrets most. No one records which examples he chooses not to mention. Those omissions are intentional. A warning is only effective if it leaves room for imagination. And imagination, when guided by history, is far more powerful than instruction. Princess Leonor is not being prepared to rule in calm waters. She is being prepared to rule in an era where legitimacy is contested not with force, but with repetition. Scandals do not need to be true. They need only to be persistent. At minute 10, the strain surfaces. Spain's monarchy sits at the intersection of memory and expectation. A generation remembers instability. Another questions inheritance itself. The warning anticipates this tension. Juan Carlos knows that once doubt becomes structural, correction becomes impossible. The institution can survive criticism. It cannot survive ambiguity about its purpose. This is where the warning sharpens. He does not caution her to be perfect. Perfection is brittle. He cautions her to be consistent. At minute 14, the point of no return passes quietly. Once the warning is delivered, it cannot be taken back. Because it reframes everything that follows. Every decision becomes a test of whether it was understood. Every silence becomes deliberate. The future queen does not inherit forgiveness in advance. She inherits scrutiny. By minute 19, the horizon darkens just enough to notice. Technology accelerates judgment. Global audiences collapse context. Institutions are expected to perform transparency without surrendering authority. This is the coming pressure. A monarchy that explains itself too often weakens. One that never explains risks irrelevance. The warning exists in that narrow space. And so, in the final moments, the phrase returns one last time, no longer dramatic, simply inevitable. Not to frighten her, not to humble her, but so the crown would survive her. The story does not resolve here. Because warnings are not endings. They are thresholds. What lies beyond depends not on intention, but on discipline. History waits.